Hey guys, how's it going today? So I want to go over my 2021 goals for language learning. So it's been a while since I've done a sort of video that's not been an interview and me just talking to the camera and kind of expressing my views on different things. So I thought New Year be a good time to update and what I've been doing, what I'm thinking of changing going forward, and so on and so forth. So quick look back at 2020. I had, I think, a very productive year in terms of focusing on learning Mandarin Chinese. I went to Taiwan. I was spent, until about September in Taiwan. And then when I got back from, Taiwan and came to England, I started working again. I still kept up my reading habit in the morning. I still read a few books in those few months coming across. Got to a total of 20 books in Chinese. And then when I was late November, early December, I started reading this book here by a Taiwanese author called Ling Jing, and then I got through about half the book, and then I got really ill. So I ended up feeling really tired, really lethargic the whole time. I didn't do anything for about a few weeks, and I'm just starting to get back into it again now. I read for the first time in a few weeks yesterday, and I'm looking at kind of reinforcing my reading habit again going forward. So my goal, it's halfway through December. It was the 19th of December, I think, at the time of recording this video, and my goal for this month is really simple, is to just finish this book. At the day of speaking, I'm on about page 190 out of, I think, about 320 so far. So, if I read 10 to 15 pages a day of this in the morning, that's fine. Should be able to get this done. And then just the other goal is just to kind of carry on and enjoying watching content in Chinese. I'm going to be fairly relaxed over this month, and then I'm going to start going more serious with it again when I start on the new year in 2021. So going forward in 2021, what do I want to do? So I've been thinking a lot, over the past few months about what I wanted to do language-wise, because, there's been various things coming up that's going to make me probably want to maybe dabble or go back and revisit different things. So I may be going to Japan in 2022 at some point to visit some friends. I may be going on holiday to a Spanish-speaking country, so I'll be tempted to kind of at least go back and revisit Spanish for like a month before I go, or maybe kind of learn a little bit of Japanese for a few months before I go to Japan, and stuff like that. So there is probably potential to move and dabble in different things, but I think for me at least, I've been thinking more and more, and I don't really want to just speak loads of languages at a level when I can't use it in a meaningful way. For me, what I think I get the most enjoyment out of is when I can really use it. I can read books, I can enjoy TV shows, I can enjoy media, I can make meaningful connections and actually talk and feel kind of like free in conversation. So not exactly the same as English, but it's like the same sort of feeling that you might get, like the same sort of freedom that you might get. So that's what I think I want to do going forward. My main goals will be to kind of keep on improving Mandarin and Cantonese in terms of long term, and then potentially maybe deviate for a month or two at different points if I went away to, say, Japan or some Spanish speaking country or something like that. Now, so where I'm going at the moment right now, I have been watching odd things in Cantonese here and there. I listen to a podcast every now and again, maybe every few days, or I'd watch an episode of a TV show every now and again, and actually being surprised that, there's a lot of really common words that I listen to and I forgot, but there's also a lot of words that I don't remember knowing before, but I can understand now from Mandarin, or, I don't understand what they're saying, and I glance down at the subtitles and I kind of make the connection, because the characters are the same, so I make the connection as that's that. So I think actually at the point I'm in now, when I'm ready to go back to Cantonese and do it properly again, when I do go back, I feel that it's going to be a lot easier to get up to a higher level of comprehension, because I've got the background with the characters now. My characters are much stronger now. I did get to a decent level before, and there's more resources coming out every day. But in terms of my main focus for right now, so big picture is going to be mostly focusing on Mandarin and Cantonese going forward. That's going to be the direction of this channel. But I think for the most of next year, at least the first half, I'm going to be continuing to do Mandarin. And there's two things that I really want to experiment with. The first thing, I want to keep up the consistent reading habit. Now, I've read, if I manage to finish this book by the end of the 2020, then that means by the end of this year I'd have read a total of 21 books in Mandarin Chinese. I would be really happy if by the end of 2021 I can get that up to a total of 40. So that would be a case of reading 19 books in Chinese in the next year. And that's what I'm probably going to aim for. I may be more, maybe less, depending on if my goals change. So basically, I'm going to try and read every morning for an hour to an hour and a half, like I have been doing, depending on, work and whatever else it may fluctuate. And also something that I've been experimenting with recently, I did this for about a week and then I kind of went off a bit because I got ill, is I basically started having about half an hour to an hour before I go to bed, like that last chunk of time is just to have allocated as like podcast time. So turn all the screens off, like brush my teeth, get ready for bed, turn all the lights off, turn all the screens off, and just have it listening to an episode of a podcast. And when that finishes, just already set my alarm on my phone. All I have to do is take my headphones off, put that to the side, and I can go to sleep straight away. And I actually found in that week when I wasn't, staring at screens before I went to bed, I did actually feel like I was sleeping a little bit better. And I think it's really good listening practice because, a lot of the time when I watch stuff in Chinese, it's on things like YouTube and stuff like that, and they actually have the subtitles on the bottom and I can't turn them off. So it's nice to have some dedicated listening practice. Something I did experiment with a bit more before as well, if it's available, is listening to audiobooks. There's a website called Himalaya, and I listened to the book for Rickshaw Boy on that. That was really, really good actually. And what I would do is I'd read a chapter in the morning, and then when I was going for a walk at lunchtime or in the afternoon for a break from work, when I was working from home, I'd listen to the chapter when I was walking around, and that kind of reinforced it. That was really useful. So the main two things that I'm going to kind of keep as like the cornerstone is just reading in the morning and podcast before bed. And the reading is going to be in Mandarin Chinese every morning for the foreseeable future. But for the podcast before I go to bed, sometimes I listen to one in Cantonese just because that happens to be a new episode that looks interesting. So that'll be a bit more relaxed with that. I have a feeling that like 90% of the time I go, it would be in Mandarin, but like every now and again I'd listen to one probably in Cantonese. So that's something I want to look at going forward. So aim for 40 books total, so that's another 19 next year in Chinese, and then also to try and get a habit of listening to podcasts before I go to bed. Now, I'm still going to be aiming to keep doing a lesson with my old teacher from NTNU on Zoom once every 2 weeks, and that's going over classical Chinese, and I'm just going to be kind of doing the homework for that. And the purpose of that is, at least it's getting my foot in the door, powering my brain and getting used to picking up some of these things. So when I do go back, or choose to delve into this more, that so much of the, difficulties already gone, because the start's the hardest. And if you can kind of dabble a little bit and slowly kind of chip away at it, when you do start, you're going to hit the ground running. Similar, for example, with Japanese, if I did ever start Japanese, I think I will dabble at some point. I've got a lot of characters. I spent a year in Taiwan around Japanese people quite a lot, so I actually got used to listening and picking out words and phrases and things, and understood bits here and there. I have learnt the hiragana before. I forgot it, but I have learnt it before, so it'd be a case of relearning that. So, if I ever did go to jump into that, then I feel like you could get going a lot easier. So that's something I've been experimenting with. But something that actually I really want to experiment with now, which I haven't mentioned at all really on my channel, is I want to experiment with writing more. So I've kind of been toying with the idea in my head for a while that I wanted to write either a book or just like a long story in Chinese, because I feel that, creative writing is a lot more fun to me. Like, I've seen people recommend writing as a really good way to progress your language, but you look at all these language prompts and questions and do this, do that. For me, it doesn't actually feel that meaningful, and at least in my experience, the more meaning I can bring to the language learning process in general. So if it's reading, read a book you like. If it's listening, listen to something you like. If it's speaking, speak to a person you like. That's all really easy to make meaningful in my experience, but writing has always been harder. So I want to experiment more with creative writing. I want to try and write a short book or a long story in Chinese, and I've got an idea of what I'm going to do. I'm not going to talk about it much now, but I'm going to try and write a little bit, and maybe write a chapter now and see how it goes, and then try maybe by the end of 2021 to have a complete book or a complete story that I can then look back on and change and get corrected, and just try to do that, because I feel that it's a good way to make you notice the language. And I found that when I was reading this book yesterday, the one by Ling Jing, and when I'm going through and I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got an idea of what I want to write about, and if I come across sentences that I think, I could use something similar in my writing, then I've been underlining them and making a note. And I kind of feel that if I'm reading A, to enjoy the story and the book, but also B, to try and pick out sentences that I could then use myself, I feel that may actually make me pay attention a little bit more in the reading, and actually may make my language kind of go to that next level. I don't know, I haven't experimented with it yet, but that's just an idea I've been toying with. So for 2021, that's basically it. I want to be mostly working on Mandarin Chinese. I want to aim to hit a total of 40 books. I want to get my reading habit in the morning, my podcast habit in the nighttime. I want to experiment with writing, which will probably be literally half an hour here or there on the nighttime if I feel like I have the energy and I'm not doing something else, like writing the homework for class or something like that, or doing a video. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I will speak every now and again, just in class, like once every 2 weeks for that, or sometimes when I get in contact with some of my old friends, I will try and I will speak to them, because that my friends, I want to talk to them. So that's basically it. I'm not going to be focusing on output, but I feel focusing on speaking. But maybe in the future at some point, if I feel like my comprehension keeps on improving, then it will be worth going back and maybe experimenting with things like shadowing and stuff like that. I'm not sure yet, but it's not something that I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on now, because I still feel that like where I am in this stage, I'm going to get a lot more value out of improving my comprehension. I can express myself, I can speak, people understand me. The accent or the pronunciation might be off here or there, but I can still have meaningful conversations with people. And normally what holds me back is lack of vocabulary. So that's why I'm very much focusing on building up these input habits and reading and listening every single day. So that's what I'm going to be doing going forward. Might dabble in Spanish or Japanese at some point. I may go hard into Cantonese at some point this year or next year, I'm not sure, but for the moment I'm going to be focusing on Mandarin Chinese still going forward. So that's what my goals are for 2021. And let me know what your goals are. Let me know what you think of my goals in the description, in the comments. Leave me a comment below if you think it's going to work, if you think something's not realistic, or you think maybe there's something that I should be trying that I haven't mentioned in this video, or did what are you up to? So let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. I really do appreciate all the comments I get. So thank you so much. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and see you guys soon. Peace.